All right, welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Jason Alder. Of course, you may not know him, but he'll be competing in the F4 Championship Series this weekend, which kicks off at Atlanta. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so we kind of went into this. I had to, do some research and stuff on it. Just kind of tell everybody kind of your background, where you came from, because, a lot of people in NASCAR world may recognize you.
Yeah, I have quite an interesting story, especially getting into the open wheel side of motorsport. But I started racing when I was 6 years old, doing road course karting, all four-stroke stuff. So WKA, Gold Cup Series, that's what I did. And after seeing some success in that in the later years, my path was NASCAR. That was my dream since I was a young kid. And so I started racing Bandoleros and Legend cars and INEX. Of course, that was all the short track, quarter mile, asphalt paved ovals at Charlotte and Atlanta and places like that. And I was having a great time. We saw success. I was a national champion in Legend cars in 2019. And that's when it was kind of time for me to decide what the next step was. So whether that was late models or something else, the time was now. And so I decided for my last race in Legend cars to race on a road course again, like I did in go-karting, just to have some fun. And that's what we did. And I ended up falling just in love with it. And that's when I knew for a fact road course racing was definitely what I wanted to do. And so I remember, this was 2020, COVID happened. I was trying to figure out what the right step was in the road course side of motorsports. And that's when I ended up hearing about Formula 4. And as soon as I saw it, I knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Okay, so kind of tell everybody what car you're going to be running and all that fun stuff.
Yep, so I'll be competing in the 2021 US Formula 4 Championship with Velocity Racing Development in the number 77 car.
Okay, I mean, these formula cars are quite different than anything that you're used to. Obviously, you've had a lot of testing and all that stuff, but what's it going to be like to really kind of go out there and just, race and stuff?
Oh my goodness, it's incredibly exciting. It's so far different from what I'm used to. So to be able to be a part of it is incredibly exciting. Just the grip of the cars, that's the main thing. The grip, the feel. I'm laying down. My feet are actually higher off the ground than my butt is, which is just a much different position and feeling than a Legend car where you're sitting much higher up. And just the experience of seeing the tops of the tires and whatnot in a very open world, an open cockpit, it's incredibly exciting.
Okay, so you were on the path to NASCAR. Now you're in this this kind of path. You were telling me before this, a lot of open wheel drivers, either go to IndyCar or they go to Formula One. I know you are taking, the harder approach, which is the obviously Formula One and stuff, of course. And as you well may know, many Americans have not been in Formula One for a very long time. And obviously, I think it's well stated that the closest person that could try to break that streak is currently competing in F3 right now, and of course, I'm talking about Jack Crawford. What made you decide that you wanted to go and think this is where I want to
go? Quite a bit of thought went into it. But obviously Jack he's a few years ahead of me. And so I've kind of been able to follow along with his progress through open wheel motorsports, kind of from even when I was racing in Legend cars and I saw him doing that, that's what kind of opened my eyes to it. And I thought about that a lot. And he was the biggest example I had. And that's what he decided to do. And I actually raced with Jack in Legend cars when we were, 13, 14 years old. And just to see Jack move to Europe and race in the ADAC Formula 4 series and the Italian Formula 4 series, it's eye-opening. And in the end, I decided that Formula One is what I want to shoot for. That's the top, that's the pinnacle. And so even if I fall short to an extent and do North American open wheel racing like IndyCar, Indy Lights, something like that, that's still a win in my eyes. But obviously, being competitive, I want to shoot for the top.
Do you know any do you know anybody that's currently in the NASCAR world and they were like, oh, you're going out and doing this?
Yeah, actually, I know quite a few people. The biggest one I can think of is Sam Mayer, actually, who is competing in Truck Series and later Xfinity Series this year. Sam and I used to race against each other. We're the same age. His birthday is like a week or two after mine, so I'm actually a little bit older. So to see him in what he's doing, and for him to see me and what I'm doing, it's amazing, honestly, especially because we were at the same point a few years ago.
So yeah, you were in that like the same boat with him and Simon Sykes and all those guys.
Yep,
Um,
I actually raced with Simon Sykes, I think in 2014 in go-karting. Or no, not 2014, 2013 in go-karting in Georgia.
yeah. So I mean, when you look at obviously the different paths of everybody that you take in like karting and stuff, what was that? What was that like? Because a lot of when you're in those kinds of karts, you're heading towards IndyCar, and of course, and obviously we well know where everybody went. You're going towards Formula One. Simon's heading towards IndyCar, and of course, we all know what Sam's doing. And of course, he'll be driving with Junior Motorsports later this year. Um, did you know at the time that you wanted to be driving in the Cup Series at that time? And what was your thinking back then?
Yeah, so I remember being 3, 4, 5 years old watching NASCAR with my dad.
Yeah.
That's just what it was. My dad was a NASCAR fan, so that's what we watched. The Daytona 500, that was the big event of the year. It's not like we sat down as a family and watched the Monaco Grand Prix or the Indy 500. It just wasn't as big to us, and so that's what I wanted to do. I saw people go around in circles and rarely road race, and almost never, especially back then. And so at the time, yeah, NASCAR Cup Series, that's what I wanted to do.
So Road Atlanta is one tough track, and it's a lot of things. And when you get drivers with not a lot of road course experience out there, how tough is it going to be just navigating all that?
I think it's gonna be pretty tough, but as a competitive person, that kind of challenge is accepted and welcomed. That's what I want to do. I'll be competing with drivers that have 3 seasons of Formula 4 experience under their belt, and I hopped in an open wheel car for the first time, I think in July. So it's gonna be a challenge, especially at such a difficult place like Road Atlanta. So to see it all come together at the same time it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I've been doing this a lot, and that I've been, if you followed like podcast episodes and stuff, and by the way, we just had Sam Mayer on the podcast last week. Let's kind of get to know you a little bit. So
Yeah.
outside of it, so do you have any racing superstitions?
I have no superstitions. In fact, I heard through the grapevine that green is a very unpopular color because it apparently it has bad luck. Is that true?
Yeah, apparently so.
Well, I've been green
That's why you don't see any
since
like Xfinity. Well,
2010. Well, yeah, there's a few, but there's really not that many green cars.
if you
And
count the
I've been
quality
green.
cars.
That's true. That's true. But,
I mean,
but I mean,
but they're doing pretty well. I don't know. I mean, I
yeah,
know. I mean, the green is the color of money, as some people would like to say, and
it is. It
worked
is.
out well for Chris Rice. Well, I mean,
It
the
has.
cars now, though, the cars aren't really that green though. That's the thing.
That's
But
true.
and then again, that's the closest green kind of color that you can really go to. And then I mean, Bubba Wallace drove the Cash App car last year. That
Correct.
was like
Right.
lime green stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, it's not really. I mean, there's specks of it on the car, but the car is not fully that. So
Right. Right.
I
I
mean,
had always been like full like fluorescent green. That's what I liked, and so this year we're mainly gray with just some fluorescent green accents. But I'm also number 77, and apparently sevens are supposed to be lucky. So maybe that counters out the green on the car. I don't know. I'm not superstitious.
oh, okay. Well, hey, if I don't know, maybe that's why Corey LaJoy decided to be 7. I'm not. I don't know.
Hey, you might be right. I think you're on
Yeah, I
something.
think so. Favorite movie?
Oh my goodness, that's a difficult one. I think it's a close tie between Talladega Nights and um, no, maybe it's just Talladega Nights. I can't think of the second
Days of
one.
Thunder.
Days of Thunder's a good one. That's a good one too. Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. Okay.
I like to laugh.
Yeah. Favorite sports team? Do you
Favorite
really watch it?
sports team? I mean, mainly just the racing is
Okay.
pretty much it. But I
You
will
know,
say that I'm much
that's
more like
actually,
involved in everything.
that's actually what I found because, when the Super Bowl was on, there wasn't a lot of like, the drivers that were on. I just watched I mean, don't get me wrong. I've covered college football for 3 years and still
Mhm.
kind of do, and all the other sports that I'm responsible for. But
Yeah, I
it's
don't
like,
know.
yeah, is there other racings on? Well, then the World Series of Asphalt was on, so I watched that.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. I mean, especially with what, NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, the World Endurance Championship, IMSA. Like, I mean, there's always a race going on somewhere. It's hard enough just to keep track of those main series.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
I bet.
Yeah. So, and finally, what's something people may not know about you?
Well, they may not know that I actually have four siblings. I'm one of five. I live in a very big family. So to travel all across the United States, going to new places and new racetracks is a lot of fun and quite interesting, especially when I can share the bond with, one or two siblings at a time in any kind of combination. So it's pretty good.
All right. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for coming on and spending a few minutes. Good luck this weekend at Road Atlanta. And let's maybe have you on in a few weeks to give us an update on how you're doing.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Casey.